Hey there, boys, girls, the YouTube world. Today, the Duff Dog and I are going to see if we can't get a 1930 or 31 Model A Ford Coupe running for the first time, and I don't even know. So we got to go down to Aronco, somewhere down in south central Minnesota. Pick this thing up. Won it on a Steffes auction. My buddy Jake told me about it. I looked. There was 2.5 hours in the auction. It was at like 1,300 bucks. I threw a bid in. Super cheap. Cheapest Model A Coupe I've ever bought. Anyway, it's like 1,600 bucks, but we got like 6 hours of driving each way to go get the thing. So I'm gonna head down there. We're gonna pick it up. It was on a Steffes auction. They're kind of a farm auction sales deal. But anyway, there was a lot of pictures, so I think I know what we're getting in. It looks pretty dang solid. I thought this car was gonna go for about 3 times that money. But I don't know if this is my lucky day or it's the economy or what, but let's go get her, load it up, go check her out, and get it back home. All right, we made her. Gonna grab my gloves, gonna grab a chain. They got a skid steer here. We'll drag her out of the corner and get her loaded up. Of course, the air compressor would fall all the way to the front of the pickup. Somebody must have hit the brakes. Made her to 16 pounds before it let loose, though. All right, we got her all tied down. The hood was just kind of laying loose, gas tank too, so we threw those in the cab. I guess they found a couple other wheels inside to go with the car, so I'm gonna go load those up. We're gonna head home. It's just about 4 o'clock, and that's when they're shutting down here. And we got 5+ hours to go home, plus we might go look at a car, so let's get loaded up and get out of here. All right, made her back about 10 o'clock last night, so we shut her down when we got here, but let's get this thing unloaded. Get her inside, check her out, huh, Duff? See what we got. See what we got. All right, we got her unloaded. Let's check out the wheels and tires we got first. Out here in the wind, eh, Duff? So we got a 40 Ford wheel. Check this out. It's so good that a couple of mice made it their final resting place. They've been there so long that Duff can't even smell that they're mice. And then 135 Ford 16-inch wire wheel, and then a pair of the original 19-inch 3031. What? 18? I was unaware. Oh, those are 32 Ford wheels. 3031 are 19, 28, 29 are 21, 33, 34, 17. 18s were 32 only. What's this one? Where's 525-18? So yeah, we got a pair of 32 Ford wheels. No, that's a 6-lugger. What the heck? Must be Chevy, but that's a Ford. Got the old Confederate flag right on there. That's the good stuff. And this is a General Lee brand. And then I think it's got 2 16s and another 16 on the side, so we got enough 16-inch 35 Ford wires to make the whole pickup. The coupe is a coupe. It's a chicken coop. It's either a 30 or early 31. It doesn't have the cutout, the indent for the fuel pump. I think it's a 30 based on the grill shell. Somebody put some seal beam conversions on her. It's got some dings in it, but for being 90 years old, she's pretty straight. Still got mechanical brakes. The engine looks like it's all there. All the linkages are hooked up. The cables are all there. The belt's still kind of there, kind of not. The old 2-blade fan, no flexi hose. She's a little greasy. Somebody stole the coil. Of course, farmers. The fuel tank is sitting inside. Let's walk around her and then get her cleaned out. This is one of the first spots they rot is in the cowl. This thing super solid. Next spot they rust back here. Really good. Running boards are almost always shot. We did get one hubcap. Fenders have been welded a little bit, but not a lot. It's pretty cool. These also stress crack out right in here. She's good. You can tell it's brush painted by the paint strokes. It's a regular trunk car, which is cool because rumble seat cars are neat novelty, but you can't use the trunk because they're full of crap. Just a tiny little dent there. They'll get rusty in here, and then right there. Super nice deck lid on this thing. These are light gold. People took them off, made pickups out of them during the war. Last tagged in 64, so 60 years she's been off the road. Fender extensions are a little banged up. Looks like they put a hitch on the back. Spare tire's gone. It's got dual tail lights. I can't remember if that was factory or not. It doesn't have the cowl light, so I don't think it's a deluxe. This is a later Ford 15-inch pickup wheel on this side. What is going on? Oh, it's part of the muffler down there. There is a little bit of rust right there. So that spot, and then down here below the deck there, the only two spots are rust. This thing is so good, absolute steel. The roof is missing like they all are, but looks like most of the wood is there. The glass is all there. No rot in the cowl up here. It's just a super solid car. Looks like it had a heater on it. Of course, they cut a hole in the firewall for that. Got a co-op spark plug in it and an all-state. Yeah, carburetor is off, but it's inside. So I'm guessing somebody wanted to get it running and they were gonna clean up the carburetor and the fuel tank, and they got that stuff out. And that's about as far as they got. This guy was like 67, he said. Was fine, everybody was talking to him, and later that night couldn't get a hold of him, and the next day they found him. So yeah, he was a car guy. He had a later model Corvette and a Jeep as well that was on the auction. This is what we got. Wasn't a lot of other car stuff. He was a farmer, like I said, farm auction. But anyway, let's empty the inside out and see how she looks. These visors are sometimes torn off, and then these windshield will rust out on the bottom there, and this one's all, she's good. Hood was laying on the car, but one side the hinge is torn off, so that's gonna need a little work, but it's really a pretty nice hood. There's the other hood side. You can see he's got like a piano hinge and those all cracked off. I would imagine it was laying out in the wind at some point. The dash, this thing's in good shape. There's always extra holes drilled. This one's only got one. That won't be bad to fix. This looks like a Model T or something else of that era. Hood came with the car. It's all aluminum. So there's a lot of manufacturers back then. If you know what this hood is off of, hit us up. Comments down below, or mortskerepair@gmail.com. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 louvers. Like I said, it's aluminum painted black. I don't know what it is. It's earlier Ford or not even Ford at all. There's the original carburetor. It looks like somebody took the screws out, took it apart. It's all the farther they got, but the butterflies are free. Doesn't say what brand, if it's a Tillotson or a Zenith. Just says made in the USA. Found the coil, the gauge insert, fuel filter. Looks like there's our float and some other miscellaneous hardware. The steering column mount. Might need that stuff. Fisher mixed nuts. Less than 50% peanuts. What, did you not want peanuts? Fisher Nut Company, St. Paul, Minnesota. Well, it says 1990, Procter & Gamble. So somebody was apparently working on this thing post 1990. Cute little box with some Chinese or something writing on it. I don't know how you open it. I don't know if it even opens. Hopefully I don't think there's anything in it. Comment down below if you know what this Asian box is. Maybe it's Indian. I don't know. I don't read that writing. Floorboard. More floorboard, probably more floorboard. There's a little bit of rust down in here, but the sub rails all look really good. You can see, well, the inner fender's a little rusty here. That's where dirt sits, right in there. Of course, that's what rust those out in the sub rails as well. Another spot to look. Let's get the stuff out of the cab. There's the fuel tank, and I think it's pretty ugly in there. I can hear it. It's ugly in there. and I can't get the cap off. But we can look through the, oh yeah, whole lot of mouse house. Looks like we're gonna be looking for a tank. Choke rod, a couple of hand cranks, and there's your advance for the distributor. That one looks like it's laid in the dirt for a while, so hopefully that's not the one off of our car. Here's a strip that goes above the gas tank between the windshield. Set of factory Model A headlights. Even got the Ford blue oval right in the lenses. And another section of floorboard that's pretty sad shape, but it'll make a pattern. I think that's about it for the inside. This must have been their park brake. Little rod in the floors, but that stuff's pretty easy to make and easy to acquire, but yeah. That's why they rot out on the cowl. There's that lip right there. Dirt drops in, can't get out. She's pretty clean in here. Same deal back here. You can see this dirt sits in here where my fingers are. So when you get these cars home, first thing you want to do is clean all that stuff out so it don't get any worse. Package trays there, good. Like I said, all the window garnishings are there. Check out that steering knob, how ornate that is. That's Art Deco. The old necker knob. The suicide knob. Crazy how we keep coming across those things recently. It is too bad it doesn't have a seat, but those can be acquired. Other than that, she's pretty much all there. Well, because this thing is so nice, we're gonna do the right thing. We're gonna pull spark plugs out, put some lube in there. Check this out. There's just ogling over this thing. You can see it in all the door jams and behind the hood strip, but this thing was Washington blue. It was my favorite Model A color. Oh yeah, this has got the regular style distributor cap instead of the big ugly Batwing style. Our vacuum advance is in there. Made in USA. Let's get them plugs out of there. What size are these monstrosities? 15, 16s? Probably should be using a crescent wrench if we were real purists. Oh my. Looks like we got 3 All-States and a Co-op. Always a good sign when your spark plugs are mismatched. So if I were to guess, cylinder number 4 is using some oil when they parked it. The beauty of these flathead 4s, or inline flatheads, is you can dump oil right down the cylinders. They're not sitting at an angle, so don't make a mess, easy to get at, straight shot. All these plugs look really good. Give them a quick shot of coil. The other beauty about these flathead 4s is they got what, downdraft carburetors or updraft or whatever you want to call it. And it's really hard for water to get into the cylinders because it's got to go uphill to get in there. But our little rodent friends, they can go uphill into the exhaust, get inside of there. But as we're all too familiar with, valves are almost always stuck on these flatheads, so we'll worry about that when we get it loose. Oh man, it's even got the flipper cover on there. Oh, is it gonna be the right crank though? Good thing we got 2 of them. That one don't want to go. Let's try crank number 2. This one's fancy, so you can get your lug nut wrench on one end. There we go. I always want to pull up when you're trying to start them, but I don't think it really matters. We're not trying. And hey, turns right over. And I'm not surprised. That's wild. Sitting for 60 years. I suppose we should take the dipstick, Jimmy. Think with your dipstick, Jimmy! No doubt, plumb full of the blackest stuff you ever seen in your life. Oh boy, that's wedged in there real good. No way. That oil is like brand new. All right. Well, I guess now we gotta see if we got spark. and compression and all that good stuff. We're gonna need a belt though when we get to that point where we need coolant. All right, I had a few sandwiches played around with this thing the other night and didn't record it, but check this out. We put new trailer tires on the triple axle and stuck those 235 85 16s on the back and some 205 55 16s on the front, because that's what I had. This thing needs to sit lower, but yeah, filled out the back wheel wells anyway. Didn't we, Duff? Oh yeah. And then these were all wheels that came with the car. There's the one 16-inch wire. That one held there, so we left it. I did have to grab one 35 Ford wire wheel, didn't we, Duff? Oh, we got some hubcaps. Should we pop those on there? Yeah? You just show them your hubcap collection, Duff? So the funny thing is, when I got into cars, or when I got to go to the car shows with my dad and my grandpa back in the day, Grandpa was a big swap meet guy, and he would buy me hubcaps. And that was our thing. We bonded together over hubcaps, and early Fords were my jam. I thought wide 5 hubcaps were the coolest things ever, which is 36, 39 Fords. Just because how big and ornate and cool they were, but I would pick up any hubcap I could get my hands on for the right price. It was affordable. And I used to know them all by heart by years, but this was 30 years ago, and I've since lost a lot of that. But anyway, these hubcaps on these cars I think will fit from 30 all the way to, no, the Model A's got the smaller center. Anyway, I think it's just V8 cars, 32, well, not even V8 cars, 32 through 35 wire wheel cars. So the 18-inch, 17-inch, 16-inch. But anyway, Model B or Model C cars, 4-cylinder cars, got them as well, but they didn't have the V8. Most of the Ford cars got V8s, and then they got V8 hubcaps. I dug through my stash, and here's what I got. This hubcap was on the car, and this is a 32, 33 4-cylinder car. Notice it's got the Ford script, no V8 emblem. It maybe would be 34 as well, but I think it's just 32, 33. These are 34s. They got indented, the embossed V8, and then these bump out, and these are 35s, which is what these wire wheels are for. But you could put 33 hubcaps on a 35 and 34 hubcaps on a 32 and so on and so forth. But 32 and 33 are very similar to these 35s. They got like one more of these ribs, and then one is on the outside of the V8 and one goes to the inside of the V8. And then I think a 34 Model B car doesn't have all these ribs. It's got the Ford oval script, but it doesn't have all these ribs out here. So since I wish I had more Model B hubcaps, because this car's not a V8. So this is false advertisement, which if you clicked on this video, you're already been suckered into false advertisement. You thought you were gonna get something entertaining. No, you're getting worthless information. I'm gonna pop a pair on one side and a pair on the other, and we're gonna call her good on the wheels and tires and stance for now. More than anybody ever wanted to know. Hey, look, more 35 caps. Sure enough. And of course, once they went to the regular style wheels in 40 through 48, those were the style hubcaps you got. And there were some changes over the years with those as well. You could get V8 ones or script ones. And another 35 cap. All right, we're gonna pop these on for real this time. Obviously these things are pretty hammered out, but they're 90 years old as well. And they usually fit pretty tight. They ain't falling off. And they might not go on. Give it a little persuading. That one ain't coming off. That one ain't going nowhere.
He's going nowhere. Where you going? Nowhere.
We're just making this thing look good before we get it running. And if we don't get it running, it'll look good. Comment down below your favorite year of Ford hubcap, or just your favorite hubcap. What do you like, a 57 Dodge Lancer or a Cadillac Sombrero? That's a good one. Expensive one. 68 Chevy Coupe dog dish cap. Just doubled the value of our ride with some hubcaps. Used to pick these things up for $1, maybe $5 for good ones. Now I think they're way more than that. Forgot we had more 35 Ford wires. This little T Roadster's got them too. These are an aftermarket one. They got no marking on them, and they don't hold up near as well. Ooh, this one's even a little bit different. It's got 3 ribs instead of 2. But I don't think they ever made a smooth one that didn't say Ford or V8 or something on it. But 35 Ford wires, good looking wheel. Cripes, forgot we had this one over here too. And those are more 34 caps as well. You can tell because they got the 1 bead on the outside, and then the V8 is embossed, not protruding. Enough about hubcap stuff, says. He says, convert this into 12 volts. Get her to crank over. Battery sponsor this week. I am Groot.
I am Groot.
You too can be a battery sponsor at mortskerepair.com. So what I like to do to convert these cars to 12 volt is unhook the rest of the car from the power. So we're not powering up any lights, radio, dome light, GPS, backup cameras, all that good stuff. And we're just running the ignition and the starter. And then I just hook up the cables. Positive to positive and negative to ground. Pretty easy. So our positive wire is going to be right here, and conveniently, if we unhook this wire right here that goes into here, it'll eliminate everything on the car. All the GPS and the backup camera that I just aforementioned. Hopefully this end is in decent enough shape and it'll fit over our positive terminal. What does that say on there? Is that a brand? D-E-N, Gildan? Can't read it. Probably says on the cable somewhere. Something gauge starter cable. Silver lining. Good stuff. And then we just take our ground and we probably go off a head bolt or a thermostat housing or somewhere on there, a water pump bolt. And to start the car, you just got this little push button here, so we'll clamp a locking pliers on that to turn it over. And hopefully we can turn it over, hopefully we got some compression, and then we'll go to spark and fuel from there. And if we don't have compression, we're gonna figure out what cylinder it is. It'll be easy to tell by the one that doesn't have compression, and then we'll deal with the stuck valve that we're probably gonna have to deal with. I wonder if somebody wasn't running this car in 12 volts before. Like I said, the coil's missing, the battery cable fit right onto the positive terminal. So usually the positive and negative terminals are different size. So you gotta really stretch the old negative, positive ground to fit on the positive, positive. You get what I'm saying? So I think somebody's been in here and been doing this before. But anyway, before I forget, also that came with this thing, the Model A instruction book. So I mean, everything we need to fix this thing up should be right there, because we don't know what we're doing. So now we got a book to reference. All right, let's put a lock and pliers on that starter button and see if she spins over. Hopefully it doesn't grenade, and we have to go find another starter, because we got Mojo working on top secret stuff in the background, and we can't take him away to work on Model A starters. Usually you would push this button down with your foot from inside the car, but seems how there's no seat and I don't have any help. Well, my help doesn't have thumbs, so we're just gonna use the old locking pliers here, and then we can run it from outside the car. Urgh. Here goes nothing. Make sure to take the crank out of the engine before you turn it over. Whoops. Oh, look at that, the distributor even spins. But do we have compression? No. Looks like we got nothing on 1 and 3, or minimal at best. So, which valve is stuck open? The nice part about the Model A is you can see in there and see if they're going up and down. That one is going up and down. How about the intake? That's our, oh, there it went. Maybe? Nope, intake's not moving on this one. And it looks like also the intake on number 3 as well. Good news is they're right below the spark plug, so we can tap on them, hopefully. Now you want to tap right on the center of the valve so you don't snap it off. Ask me how I know. There, I made sure that the exhaust valve is open. Now we're gonna tap on the intake. And we're gonna spray some coil in there on the valve stem before. We'll do the same on number 3 while we're at it. Give it a little tap, tap, taparoo.
Just tap it in. Just tap it in. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, taparoo.
It's almost directly below the spark plug. Wait for the noise here at closing. There. It didn't exactly spring closed, unfortunately. That one did. Turn it over 2 full revolutions and it's stuck up again. There it went. 1, 2. So that is the beauty of these hand crank cars. So for every 2 revolutions of the crankshaft, you get 1 of the camshaft. It's 4-cycle theory. Go have Wes explain it to you. But anyway, what I can do here, since I'm not zinging off the starter, is I can turn this thing over 1, and then I know the other valve's open. I spin it over all the way, and I know that we're back to where we need to be. So we tap on the valve and repeat. Hear that snap? That's a good snap. I think we already got her unstuck. How about this guy? This one actually sounded pretty good from the start. Nope, still sticking. I think we got it though. Those may be, those 2 valves may have been the least sticky valves I've ever had, and they happen to be the 2 right below the spark plugs, so our lucky day. We should go buy a lottery ticket. Spin this crank out of the crankshaft before we spin her over. Now let's see if we got compression on 1 and 3. Way better than it was. Now I guess we gotta either find a carburetor or go through that one, and that one's been apart and it's missing pieces, so I don't think we're gonna mess with that one. We'll go see if we can find something in my stash. And we gotta get a coil and some plug wires, and I don't know if these points are gonna come back to life with just cleaning them, but we'll give her a look-see. These things are in pretty bad shape. I've shown it before, but anyway, you can take this flathead screw loose, and you can, that's how you adjust the timing. You clock the rotor pointing at whatever direction you want, and then you pull this pin out down here, you turn the engine over until that pin slides back into place. That's top dead center number 1, and then you point her at number 1, and that's how you time them. It's a pretty freaking novel idea. Works really well. But we got to get spark before we get to that point, so we'll have to do that first. All right, let's see if we can get this distributor apart. There's this cable that goes in here, and I don't remember exactly how this works. The condenser is built in here. It's not an ideal situation. I don't know. Ford probably put it together to do whatever. Make it easy to manufacture and cheap. I think we got to take this guy off, so we're going to remember that it was pointing right there. Now, doesn't this come right off? Once we turn it far enough, there we go. Yeah, wouldn't have fit over that. Couldn't remember if they did or not. Did it right for once. So I'm gonna take some compressed air and blow the crap out of there. Not sure why, but I am. Definitely want to blow all the crap out of your distributor and shoot it right down into your cylinders. So I think this wire is hooked up to power. Comes into here, it's hooked up to here, goes up to our points, probably bounces off the condenser somewhere in there. Looks good to me. So now we just got to get power to that wire, I think. Probably. Maybe. Hook our advance mechanism back up. Grab this guy back on. Pointer about right in there. Now, give the old Mortske flick a few times. Obviously we got to get a coil up in there and wired up, so that'll take a little bit, but we should have spark if we do it right. Keyword if. All right, ready to test coil and our points and all that stuff. Let me show you what we got going on here. So we got our power wire going up here to our coil, And on the other side, this green wire comes and hooks up to this switch cable dealio that Ford thought would be great. And that goes into our distributor. We got our coil wire on there. We got a 12-volt random coil head laying around. So let's crank her over and see what happens. Hopefully no power of Grayskull.
By the power of Grayskull!
Nothing. Hit the old points with the Hansi file. Got some spark. Ugh! Don't file your points with your coil wire hooked up. Yay for power of Grayskull. 2 weeks in a row we got bit by him. And after you did that, now hook it back up. Give her a couple flicks with your Mortske flick screwed by Mortske repair screwdriver. Now let's see if it sparks on its own. Yep. Good spark. Wow. What are you roughing about over there? Where are you? There you are. What are you all fired up about? Think we're going for a ride or what? We still gotta get fuel and cap, rotor, spark plugs. I know, I'm working slow. I'm taking our time. This is a delicate 90-year-old automobile, Duff. Gotta make sure we do her up right. 94 years if it's a 1930 anyway. I'm gonna clean up the cap, clean up the rotor. We're gonna put some mystery 1954 Oldsmobile 303 rocket spark plugs on there, clean up our spark plugs, and we still gotta find a carburetor. Let's get this ignition dialed in first though, eh Duff? Oh, you needed some pets first is what you needed, huh? Yeah. Look at this handy book though. It shows our wiring schematic and it shows the components and their locations. Pretty handy. Oh, this has even got the old powerhouse generator. This is a 28 model. We get ourselves a 30 model. She's well worn too. Been flipped through a few times. Copyrighted 1928. Good stuff. Oh, there's what the original style distributor cap would look like. Little bat wing. We got this guy instead. And it is well used. Ignition is wrapped up. We got compression. We got it turning over. We just got to figure out our carburetor. Like I told you, these plug wires are off of a Oldsmobile V8, so they're a bit long, but we'll worry about cleaning that up later if it runs. If it doesn't run, we can take them off and put them back in our box and still have a newish set of spark plug wires for an old rocket. Now we got to find a carburetor and a gasket. So let's see what I can find in my stash. All right, we had to use the lift, so we rolled this thing out and can't talk about that stuff. And we'll do some carburetor stuff. So the carburetor that was on there was a Marvel Shebler. It's my favorite carburetor just because it's funny to say. Funny? Fun. More fun. Funner to say. This is not the carburetor, but this is a Marvel Shebler. They cast the USA in it, but the Marvel Shebler is a decal. But I do have a brand newish overhauled Tillotson. You can tell it's a Tillotson by the way that it is.
This is an aspen. You can tell that it's an aspen tree because of the way it is.
And I think we're gonna try that one just because it looks gooder. Is this the one that you would run? Are you busy? Can we show that, or do we have to blur it out? Well, Duff cleans his carburetor. We're gonna put another one on. I am gonna need a gasket, however. You wanna go fetch me up a gasket? Get it? That was a fetch joke. Turns out you don't fetch. Clean up our gasket mating surface using our super scraper. Get your super scraper. Mortske.com. Now let's hope our fuel line is correct, or at least it's got the right ends on it, or end that goes into the carburetor anyway. Let's blow it out first. Actually, let's take this fitting with a sock on it off first. Got our line on there. It's only slightly rounded off because apparently nobody owned line wrenches for the last 90 years. And obviously this would have gone right into here, into our firewall for our fuel tank, but our fuel tank's full of crap. So we're gonna hook up the old motorcycle gravity feed nurse tank. You don't wanna hook a fuel pump up to these things because the Neyland seat is not meant to hold back pressure, just gravity. So I'm gonna pull this line back off and blow it out. Because I'm an idiot, forgot to do it before I put it on there. And then we're gonna hook up the nurse tank. Hope I didn't ruin that paint. Well, we got the colostomy bag. People have asked about this thing. It's not great because it leaks somewhere, but it's from Moto 4U. It's no fire. There is inflammable liquid in this tank. I believe that meant to be flammable. Well, now we gotta read this. Stay away from fire or flames and any ignition source. That's pretty good use of English. When using or storing, ensure that the hanger is securely hooked at all times. Okay, using or storing. So all times? Anyway. Store and use upright with the cap screwed tight. Okay, do not fill above the 2000 cc mark. Apparently there's cc marks. But anyway, it's always empty. It leaks somewhere on the bottom, which is not where you want it to leak, but works good for this. The beauty of having old cars with wood, you just ram a torque screw into the wood and put a zip tie on it. Boom, fuel cell mounted. Fuel cell engaged. I think I had to add that, maybe. I don't remember, maybe not. Oh, and now we wait for it to leak. But the wait didn't take very long. What the French? This is why I hate my life. These carburetors are absolutely terrible. Is it leaking out the bowl? Well, where else would it be leaking? All right, these things all just seem like they leak. So we're just gonna run it, see what happens, because why not? Freaking Tillotson. The gas is still dripping out, so we're just gonna leave the gas off. Hook our battery cable back up, hook our coil up. Here we go. Slingshot, engage.
Slingshot engaged.
What did we forget? Give it a little choke action. Come on, baby. We can turn the gas back on, let that drip all over the floor. Definitely get plenty of gas to the carburetor. Choke's off. I think you gotta just choke it. You just gotta choke it. Well, we took our throttle rod up here. Does that work? Oh, the foot feet's loose even. These things like to get seized up on the back of the engine here where they pivot. So that's slightly off height. We can run our throttle. There we go. Give it a little gas. Check for spark. Not electrocute yourself. A lot of spark. So that's the problem with these updraft carburetors, is you gotta pull the fuel into the cylinder, or with a downdraft, just gravity's right into the cylinders. You don't have a ton of compression, which also means you got a ton of suction. You got no compression, you got no suction, it's not gonna pull that fuel in the cylinder. That's my theory. That's why they went away from them. I don't know. It wasn't around then when they went away from them in 1932. We got spark. We should have fuel. We should have compression. I don't get it. I know on my 31 Coupe, you gotta choke that thing. Unless you it was warmed up and you walked away from it like 5 minutes ago. So we're gonna play with the choke here. I think every time I crank it over, it flips the choke open. So I'm gonna hold it closed, try to reach across here and not electrocute myself or anything else. Yeah, come on, baby! It wants to go now. And just needed to be choked. Don't think into that. It's kind of like a steam engine, or hit and miss, that's the word. It's firing really good on one, not so much on the others. Let's turn our gas off. Yeah, also on my car, if you don't turn the gas off when it's not running, it leaks. And that's a pretty nice Model A. Nice for me. Let's double check that timing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this pin out right here and turn it around the other way, and we'll turn the engine over until that pin drops in. And then we need to line up our distributor rotor with cylinder number 1. Right there. So now we're at top dead center, cylinder number 1. And these things are 2 gears for timing. Obviously, the one on the camshaft is twice as big as the one on the crankshaft. And there's a hole in the one on the camshaft, or a dimple or whatever, and this drops in there, and that tells you when it's at top dead center, number 1. Or should be, provided those 2 gears are assembled properly. Now we're gonna see where our rotor's pointing. It's pointing right here, which is just past cylinder number 1. So I'm going to take and rotate this thing back to right here where cylinder number 1 should be. And to do so, we're going to take the rotor off, loosen this screw up, turn this over so she's pointing at number 1, which is right there. Got a double check here. Number 1. Maybe turn her back ever so slightly. And that's where we're going to snug it up. And that's how you time a Model A. So easy. Even a caveman could do it.
It's so easy, a caveman could do it.
Will this make it run? I don't know. But it's easy to check. Now hook our coil wire back up. Fuel on. Choke on. I didn't say it, that's why. Slingshot engaged. Slingshot engaged. Well, it runs. Not great. Can't imagine it's flooding with all the leaking that's going on in the carburetor, but she's alive nonetheless. Should probably get some coolant in it and a fan belt. I feel like I don't have a fan belt, and I feel like the parts store isn't going to have one either. So we might have to get creative there. And I'm not wearing a belt, so we can't use mine either. But hey, it runs, so there's that. These things are pretty simple. They're fun to work on. Easy to work on. You don't have to have much for tools. A crescent wrench and a hammer. Maybe a flat screwdriver? Pliers? Good stuff. See if she'll go with me. Yeah, you gotta have the choke on for it to run, so I think I'm gonna go grab a different carburetor. This one isn't as good as the advertised rebuilt tag that was on it. Whew. She smoked the shop up a bit, that's for sure. We're out here in storage room B. Well, Puddin ruined a perfectly good Model A two-door sedan, restored. It was like Concours d'Elegance, and was just gonna scrap this chassis. So I was like, yeah, I'll haul it out of your way. But anyway, this thing allegedly ran pretty well, so we're gonna steal the carburetor off of it. And then hopefully it fixes that thing. And if not, then we'll steal the distributor. Did he just cut that too? Of course he did. God, that guy is such a hack. But yeah, we got pieces here. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this thing because I already got a nice stock Model A Coupe. So yeah, comment down below what you think we should do with this. Should we throw this Model A Coupe on it? Should we put a Model T Roadster body on it? Should we throw a flathead V8 in it? No, definitely not gonna do that because we got this perfectly good engine. Goodness gracious, did they weld this carburetor onto this intake or what? I did not know we needed to bring a hammer. Oklahoma things, they probably just put some red RTV on it. There we go. Oh, ruined the gasket. Son of a biscuit. All right, back to the big shop. So here is our giant Zenith with air cleaner. That's pretty rare. I don't know if it's rare. Usually guys add them on. We're gonna throw this thing on there. We better clean up the gasket surface, and then we'll put some Vaseline on our new gasket. Throw this on there, and hopefully Puddin didn't screw us again. Yeah, look away, because you know that guy's always screwing us over. Let's turn the old ball valve on here. See what happens. Hopefully no leaks. Nothing so far. Maybe the cast iron Zenith is the way to go. Well, son of a biscuit. A carburetor that does, it's probably just all building up in the bottom of the air cleaner right now. I suppose hook up the battery and see if this thing will light off. See if it'll run a little bit better. I don't have a lot of, you know, I use points all the time. These points were terrible. So I thought I had a set laying around. I don't. So we might be stealing the distributor out of that car too. What the heck? Steal the whole thing. Steal the engine. We'll have something. Wheels, tires, brakes. Just put this body on that chassis. Now we're talking. All right. Choke is on. Throttle's at idle. Come on, baby. Choke it for longer? I don't know. I think we're gonna be stealing some points or a distributor. There's that gas that was leaking out the carburetor. Well, get out the marshmallows. Burnt mouse poop. Distributor time? Maybe we should check and make sure those valves haven't stuck again. Kind of doesn't sound like it's hitting on them all. Pull some spark plugs out. Wish I had some. Oh, that might be why we're not hitting on all of them. It's the old lost top co-op. Well, it didn't completely get lost. It's in there. So now we gotta find one of those. Maybe we'll just go take the spark plugs out of that spare Model A as well. None of these spark plugs seem overly wet, like they weren't hitting. Well, maybe that one. Little oil consumption. Who knows? Let's do a compression test. The thumb compression test. All right. Jobs there. I think we got compression. I'll go grab some spark plugs quick. Apparently down in Oklahoma they ran the old Autolite 3076s. This one's a little rusty, but it can't be any worse than what we took out. Let's see if spark plugs makes a difference. Oh, I never even thought to play with the advance on the timing. Well, son of a biscuit. Let's see how she does with some new plugs. New. Little choke. She's at idle. Alright, let's free up that timing advance and retard a little bit. Alright, choke off. Give her some advance. Now we got nothing. We got spark. We lost spark. Why did spark go away? I guess we'll pull the cap off and see why we got no spark action. Still no spark in there. Bad connection on the battery cable, it appears. See if that fixed it. Yep. Guess we'll put that all back together again. Now, will it run better? We got too much advance. All right, backed off the timing. Now let's see what happens. Well, we know we got compression. We know we got fuel. We got spark, but I don't think it's sparking the way that it should. So we swapped everything else. Look at the old Batwing style distributor. I want a Puddin's Model A chassis. Throw that in here next. So these things are pretty easy to pull out. There's a little set screw down in there that you can't see. And the distributor just pops right out of there. And then we just got to set the timing like we did earlier and good to go. Oh yeah, you got to unhook this advance over here and take the cap off and take the wiring with it. Sounds like we got help with small feet. Did you come to work today? No? Did you get kicked out of daycare again? No? Kinda. Yeah? Cause you got a fever yesterday, huh? You just didn't want to go. You wanted to come hang out with us today. And Duff. Mainly Duff. Mainly Duff. And feed him TREATS's all day long. You want to go for a ride in my new car?
It's a pop ride.
It's a pop ride.
Look at my pop rod.
This is the distributor, Paisley.
That looks like a snake.
It's a snake. It's a sneaky little snake, isn't it?
I'm a slithery little sneaky snake.
Paisley says it looks like a snake. That's the
rattler.
Yeah. Sneaky little snake. You don't like snakes?
Oh.
Got this distributor out. The shaft's a little rusty, so we're gonna run her over to the wire wheel and clean her up. Apparently that's where number 1 is supposed to point. Pretty nifty. Somebody may have used a pry bar and pried on that condenser to get her out of there. Whoops. Testing a flathead armature. That ain't good, is it? She's shot. All right, guess we'll go dig through the stash, see what we can find.
Okay.
Don't throw it away though, we might get some good parts there, even though the Bendix is locked up.
Okay.
Got our shaft all polished up, and her set to top dead center. Let's drop this thing in and see if she runs better. So we just rotate our rotor until she drops in, and then we'll tighten that up. We'll take that off, we'll loosen that screw, put her at number 1, and get ready to rock. But you gotta make sure that shaft is engaged down there in the bottom. There's just a little flat keyway that's gotta be engaged down there. There's no gear on these, just that. And it can only go one way, because that keyway is offset. So here's another Ford anomaly. I don't know why they couldn't just run a wire from the coil to the distributor. They had to do this big old speedometer cable looking thing. This one's been cut off. But anyway, it's got this connector at the end, which is just a big brass pin with a spring behind it. And that pushes against the contact in there. And it's all insulated, obviously. So I don't know if they just didn't have good insulated wire back then, and so this was their resolution, but weird. So you can't just hook a regular wire up. I suppose you could and then solder it in there, but you got to have this thing to hold it in place, or you should. And it keeps the distributor dry-ish. I don't know. Ford things. That thread's in there, and then there's a clamp right there that clamps her to the cylinder head bolt. And that's how you wire up a Ford distributor in a Model A. Now with the old Batwing style here, we can't use our plug wires, so we got to use the copper straps from Puddin's engine. So we'll go get those. The good news is there's pretty much no way that you can screw up the firing order. 1, 2, 3, 4. All these straps are the same. Spin off the nut on the top of your spark plug. Put that on that clip there, tighten her back up, and there you go. Just don't touch them when it's running, or a gray skull will get you. Another ingenious cost-saving design brought to you by Ford. Now let's see if she pops off. New carburetor, new distributor, new spark plugs, new battery, new coil. It's all new. Ooh. There's a bunch of fuel coughing out of the carburetor. Can't tell if it wants more choke, less choke, more advance, less advance. I'm getting smart here. I'm gonna hook up the throttle in the vacuum advance, mechanical advance, the advance, so that I can run them from the other side. You know, because mechanical starter switch, I can't use my loser switch, so I gotta be on both sides at the same time. All right, we're at idle. Our advance is in the middle. See what happens. What do we need? Less advance? Maybe try a little choke too. All the choke. Can't decide what it wants. It wants to rev up, but it's at idle. We got a giant vacuum leak? Let's try choking it again. No, no choke. No go. Well, for cheese and rice. What could possibly be going wrong here? Let's get this silly air cleaner off here. That thing just seems like she's gonna start on fire. See how much gas is in that. Oh, not bad. We're definitely getting gas. Or are we? There's no vent on this bad boy. And gravity's not going to give us a ton of, you know what I'm saying? We're going to see if we vent that. Maybe it's not getting enough gas. I don't know how that could be, because this thing can't take hardly any gas to run. Like a drip from a spoon would probably be enough to run it, you'd think. Super economical cars. Probably got 40 miles a gallon back in the day. Take that, Elon Musk. Okay. Choke. Ooh. Now why is it puking gas out? Oh, it's like it wants to speed up at idle. But that's why. So if you don't have the right air-fuel ratio, it's going to want more fuel or less air or vice versa. So if you've got a vacuum leak, it's going to want more fuel because it's pulling in more air. With this simple design, you get your carburetor, so we could have a vacuum leak around this gasket, which is new. We cleaned up the surface. Should be good. And then you got your intake, so obviously this is a vacuum port, probably for your wipers. That looks plugged, should be fine. So then it's just where the intake meets the block. Look at this. This bolt is finger tight. So I can about imagine that there might be a vacuum leak, and there might be more like this. Sure enough, I can spin that washer by finger. Let's tighten those up, see if that makes a difference. Somebody's already been here, so I don't know if they were going to put a new manifold on or if you just vibrated loose. We'll try tightening them up, but I don't feel good about those gaskets. Maybe we'll have to get some new gaskets and put in there, or heaven forbid, get some high temp silicone. I don't know if I got any Model A intake and exhaust manifold gaskets, but we could make something. Anywho, let's snug them up, see if that makes a difference. I can't say that I've ever had the intake or exhaust manifold off of a Model A before. Good news is it's the same hardware as the head bolts. Let's try her again. Without a vacuum leak, hopefully this time. Slingshot engage. No choke, sounds better than it ever had. Must have had a little bit of a leak. I'm sure it's still got more. Let's see if we can rev it up. Or not. Vacuum leak, who'd have thought? Play with our timing a little bit. Oh yeah, smooths way out when you turn her back. Purring like a kitten. Meow. Meow. Not too bad for I've been off the road for 60 years, and to be honest, it was probably all that vacuum leak. I swapped those plugs and wires and cap and rotor and distributor and carburetor for nothing. I think we needed a carburetor, and we clearly needed one spark plug, but we needed some points. So we probably needed all that stuff, but vacuum leak, that was our culprit. And I should have known when I was choking it, and that was the only way that it would run, and it wanted to speed up, that it was a vacuum leak. But I thought, where could it possibly leak vacuum? Check the hardware, dummy. So we got a huge exhaust leak because it's dumping right out the manifold. The neat part about these things is it's one pipe from the manifold all the way to, they just come right over the rear end, and the muffler's built right into it. Guess who had one laying around? Some random person with a bunch of other stuff. Look at this stuff. We got a flat Model A cross member. We got some wide 5 hubcaps, oil bath air cleaner, more hubcaps, more 35 Ford wires, some wide 6-bolt wheels. We hit the jackpot with this guy. Anyway, there's that downpipe and muffler. It's all new old stock stuff. angled ram horn manifold mop. Had to pick up some spring water too. Maybe got some donuts for me and Paisley as well. Let's throw this on there. See if we can't quiet her down. Sounds like there's some mouse house in there. Oh, mice. Like to fill. Oh! Like to fill his pipes with dog food. Those guys, all 5-0 was busy. Jesus Christ. Try the other way. Oh, I hate mice. Don't ask me what burnt dog food smells like, because it's terrible. So let's try to get as much out as we can. Alright. There's like 3 more pieces in there. 2 more now. I think we got them all. That's like a whole cup of dog food. Those little suckers filled this thing with. I'm gonna never financially recover from feeding all these mice and Duff.
I am never gonna financially recover from this.
All right, let's get this thing lifted up in the air and see if we can't sneak it up in there. Take a look at the bottom side of this thing. Hold the phone. You know what else was in that 5-gallon bucket? All these sweet Skidoo oil cans in this chrome small block Chevy timing cover. That's right. We're gonna wipe these down, clean them all up. I don't care if you're not a Skidoo guy or you're a small block Chevy guy. We're gonna put our Herbie Hancock on these things and we're gonna throw them in with some orders. And you know what we're gonna throw it in with? Coolers. We got these cool little coolers. They're super affordable, super lightweight, easy to throw in the glove box of your car. You go down to the establishment, you get yourself some cold drinks. You pull your Mortske cooler out of your glove box, throw them in there, keeps them nice and cool for the car show. But anyway, this isn't just your regular chrome 350 timing cover. This one's embossed with the bow tie and the Chevrolet. And we got the Skidoo SAE 40 weight. Trademarks of Bombardier Limited. Marque de Bombardier Limité. Anyway, 16 ounces. We got a 6-pack of them bad boys. We got the pull tabs. They're full. We'll get them to you. 40-to-1 ratio you got to mix that thing at. If you're down in like New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, you need these things because you're going to be the only guy on the block. You're going to be the coolest guy on the block. Not only because you got a Mortske cooler, but because you got Skidoo snowmobile oil, and there isn't a Skidoo snowmobile or any snowmobile for 2 or 3 states away. For those of us that are in Alaska and North Dakota and Wisconsin and Minnesota, the neighbors probably got some. But I bet his aren't open yet. All right, hit us up, mortske.com. Get yourself a cooler and get a chance to win some of these amazing jugs of oil into our timing cover. You can at least use that. You can use this oil. It's probably still good. It's better than the new stuff. It'd be really cool if you had a cool old Skidoo snowmobile oil. But anyway, if you get yourself a cooler, you automatically get thrown in for one of these. Right, Duff? Right. I tell you what, just to spice it up, we will put our Herbie Hancock on each and every cooler that gets purchased this week on the dates listed down below. Now back to your regular scheduled shenanigans. All right, before we stick that tailpipe on there, let's take a look at the bottom side of this thing. I often wondered on a lot of these cars if this is the first time they've ever been up in the air because, you know, lifts weren't a common thing, especially in this part of the country, for a long time. So let's take a look at this thing. I don't know what they had for lifts pre-1964 in this guy's neighborhood. We are missing the front bumper. I don't know how I didn't notice that until now. Looks like all the brake rods are there and free and not super worn out. Of course, the shock seized up and is no longer hooked up, the old friction shock. Looks like the bushings are shot in the front spring. Pretty common. Looks like they put a couple of clamps to kind of hold this spring together, and then a little number 9 wire going back and forth.
Until next time, this is Quick Dick McDick reminding you, a man will never get tired of pulling on his number 9 wire.
And some square bolts. Maybe a rag wedged up there for some reason. Who knows what was going on? Yeah, you can see these leaves are kind of coming apart. I'm guessing maybe the bolt sheared off in the middle there. We may never know. Yep, these shocks get seized up and then they just break or get unhooked or whatever. Pretty common. Still got a little smoke coming out of the road draft tube. Oh, it's flexi. Steel flexi hose. Yeah. Looks like somebody wedged a chunk of rubber in the wishbone here. And the rubber deteriorated, and then the hardware got loose. So that's handy. This is the fun part, getting all the brakes to work again. I don't know why they got all this wire twisted around, but clearly they had an abundance of mechanics wire. Transmission's leaking like they all do. Here's our battery tray for our cute little 6-volt that's probably never going to be in this thing again. More wire and springs. I think that was for the return on the brakes. Oh yeah. Yep, you got all these linkages and rods. This is hooked up to the pedal and then pushes this whole mechanism back and forth. That goes to the front brakes, and then this one goes to the back brakes. Same deal for the park brake up here. Park brake pulls this rod, moves this shaft, moves those rods. Everything looks like she's complete back here. Again, spring eyes. The bushings are shot, and the shocks are seized up, missing the arms even back here. Well, yeah, a little bit of rust in the sub rail. Nothing too crazy. Still got the original wood in it. A little rust in the floor up there. This spring doesn't look like it's bouncing around. Oh yeah, got a nail in our spring clamp back there though. So here's the one exhaust hanger. We'll take that off of there and put our new one up there. We'll be back on the road in no time. What are the odds this 94-year-old bolt comes out? That good, huh? If I can hold the top. Ouch. Nice. Fine thread. Henry Ford's favorite. Out with the old. In with the new old stock. I think we can find some new hardware that doesn't have square heads for the exhaust clamp. We're going all out on this Barrett Johnson restoration. I think it might be easiest to put our clamp on from the top side. So there's two diameters here. That's the big diameter and that's the small diameter. I think the big one goes on the cast side. I mean, that's where I'm gonna put it anyway. It's still kind of hot. Weird. And the donut is built into the manifold, so that's pretty nifty. Old Henry, he had her figured. It's probably Edsel by this point. The clamp's in pretty rough shape, but hopefully it gets the job done. Somebody try weld into this cast before. Keyword is tried. So it's kind of deformed. I'll raise her up, tighten that clamp up back there, and hopefully we got exhaust now. There you have it, complete exhaust job on a Model A in 15 minutes. Would have only been 10 if I'd have had the right hardware and a new clamp. It's real close to the splash pan, but I feel like that's maybe deformed, judging by that kink right there. And all of the wire. Man, there must be 2.5 rolls of mechanics wire in this thing. Anyway, goes into the muffler, dips over the wishbone, and then just dumps right into the rear end, just the way Henry wanted it. Good stuff. Now we can have a tailpipe cam, huh, Duff? Yeah? Go check out the food that the mice brought you. How's that? No, don't eat it, you goon. Or do. Whatever. See you later. What do you say? See how she sounds with some fresh exhaust. Barely hear it. Pretty dang smooth. Now we're gonna have to go steal a fan belt off of Pudney's setup and throw some coolant in this thing. Might be ready to go for a ride. I tried looking for a fuel tank. I guess I don't have any 3031 fuel tanks laying loose that are acceptable for usage. So motorcycle nurse tank it is. It's gonna kind of affect the visual, but we'll be all right.
What is that on your windshield?
It's a giant Fig Newton sticker.
This sticker is dangerous and inconvenient, but I do love Fig Newton.
Of course, missed opportunity, you know, dumped all the dog food out of there. What else are they gonna have in there other than food? Insulation? Dang it. With that isn't all out of our glass pack. Freaking mice, the bane of my existence. Well, if we're gonna try to drive this thing, we gotta get some coolant in it, and then we gotta get that coolant circulating. So I'm trying to get a fan belt fit on here. I think these things got like a 5/8 or 3/4 inch wide belt, and all I got is these 3/8 or 1/2 inch. So we're just gonna make it work. So I'm gonna go through my selection and see if we can't find one that fits. All right, we got ourselves a fan belt, 15405 fits on there. As good as we're gonna get. Now let's grab some coolant or something wet that resembles it. See how bad it leaks. Guaranteed the water pump's gonna leak. Guaranteed, they all do. Nature of the beast. All right, let's see where she runs out. Can't imagine by the amount of rust and debris inside this radiator that it's gonna cool real well, but some coolant is better than no coolant. Ah, there's the stream. Where's it coming from? What? I can hear it. Way back here. Oh, it's running down the drip tray. Oh, it's leaking out the petcock in the lower radiator hose. Let's snug that up. Somebody must have drained it. Nothing wrong with that, I guess. At least we know somebody took the initiative to do that. Cooling system's full, and man of my word, it's leaking. Get a little drip up here in the lower radiator hose. I can't imagine why. But anyway, is what it is. As soon as we start turning that water pump, it's gonna leak from that packing in there. So, I think we're ready to take it for a test run. Probably gonna have to round up a seat. Oh, I got my eyes on one. We don't go with bucket seats around here. We got crate seats. Terrace Park Dairies, Lando Lakes. Old Puddin's favorite number, 77. This one's for fat folks. It's extra wide and it's got the steel reinforcement. Husky light. Anywho, let's do this. Just throw that about there. And maybe feed some wiring to the inside so that we can stop it and start it. Well, stop it. Anyway, starting it, we should be able to use the push button right there. Speaking of reaching the push button right there, let's see if we can put the gas tank in it so I don't have to trip over it anymore. It's out of the way, and it fills a hole, makes the car look better for, you know, pictures. For when we sell it, because I can't keep all these cars. I'd love to keep this one. This one's probably my third best Model A coupe in my collection. But price and availability will be in the video description down below. Let's get the windshield cranked out and figure out what we got to do to put a tank in one of these, because I don't know that I've ever taken one out. I guess we're gonna pull a windshield out to get it in there. Luckily, most of the screws are already gone, missing. Nobody put them back in. We may as well just start chopping the top over this far. What do you think? 3 3/4, 4 inches? Go for 5. Get the mail slot in the window. Trying to wrestle this stainless steel strip into place. should hold it on to an extent. Like I said, I don't know that I've ever taken one of these gas tanks out. Surely not on a 3031, maybe on a 28.9. Good enough. Divider strip in place. I think we just put the windshield in there and that'll hold that all in there. Ah, this looks so much better and so much more complete, and my shop looks so much cleaner. 61,998 miles in this swap rod, and I'm highly certain that it did not roll over to 161,000. That's a lot of miles on a model. Oh yeah. Dashboard in, clusters in. Let's put the steering column mount in there too. That's the beauty of putting the tank in. Your column isn't flopping around. Duff, we gotta get this show on the road before we lose all of the coolant. She's a little squishy up there in the top of the radiator as well. Fished a wire inside the cab, so I can kill it if I need to. Had to get a different seat. Sat too high in the old crate, so I got just a crappy seat base here. And yeah, I don't think Duff's gonna come with because there's no floorboards and he's not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of him getting hurt, so no Duff cam this week, sorry. And I'm not gonna make floorboards for this thing. Also, we got an issue. You're reversing first. We got no second and third. Also, did you know that Model A shift lever did this and swing out of the way? How freaking neat is that?
That's pretty neat.
Maybe that's why they parked it. It only has first and reverse. Might be a real short test drive this week. Maybe it'll come out of it, but probably not. Ready to do this? Gonna open the overhead door. I don't think it's gonna be much of a ride with only first and reverse. Or maybe it's only second and third we got. We don't even know if we got a clutch. I did, however, hook up the old choke cable. Choke rod. Let's see if it'll start. Definitely want it in neutral. We got no spark. Is my wire coming hooked? Doesn't appear so. Crepes, what did we do? Like a sewing machine. All right, clutch. Hey, now let's see if it backs up. Oh yeah. Brakes. Ah, that's the beauty of mechanical brakes. They just work, kind of. Not good, but they work. You don't even need a fuel gauge when you got the colostomy can just hanging out in front of the windshield. Oh yeah, we got an exhaust leak right in the cabin without the floorboards. Seating isn't exactly ideal, but it's got more cabin room than the Roadster. And you can get even more if you take this package tray out back here. Come on, second. It doesn't even want to shift back into first. Or out of first. Yeah, that shifter is not happy. I guess it's just a parade car, only having first gear. I wonder when the water pump's gonna start leaking. Well, shoot, I suppose. Pull the top cover off the transmission, see what's going on there. But hey, we got a running driving first time in 60 years. That's 60 years ago. I was non-existent. Didn't brakes. Oh, you gotta love a Model A. Just idles. And there's no temp gauge, so therefore it can't overheat. Oh yeah. Told you it was gonna leak. Oh, look at her just walking back and forth. Just ticking away. You sad you didn't get to go for a ride? I'm sorry. All right, let's turn the gas off. Unhook our coil. Throw some pans underneath it. Pull a floorboard. And now let's pull the top cover off. Anytime you take a cover off a transmission, you always want to make sure it's in neutral when you start and when you finish. Probably the first time this thing's been apart in 90 years. Well, it's oily in there, so that's a plus. I think I found our problem. See these two shift forks? One is for first and reverse, and one is for second and third. And the one for second and third doesn't move back and forth. Surprise, surprise. I don't know how many people have been into a manual transmission. I can't say I'm an expert, but so this is your shift rod right there. And as you go left and right, there's two different gates. There's a gate there and a gate there. And then that gets you into this fork or this fork. And then as you move forward or backwards, this gives you second and third, or first and reverse, or vice versa. It's upside down, left, right, reversed, mirrored, so on and so forth. But these things should slide back and forth. So let's see why they don't. See, that one goes back and forth. So that is first and reverse. And this is second, third. And she don't go. She wants to. It's moving. We'll get her freed up. Free Willy. Where can we pry? You don't want to get too crazy. There. I think it's just sticky. There she went. Let's hit that with some coil while we got her slid ahead. Should slide back. Oh, there we go. No. Slide the other way. There we go. And there's a couple of detents in here, and I think there's a ball and a spring in here, and that's what makes it sit in neutral, is that ball sits in there. One of them's probably for neutral, and then one of them's probably for when it's in gear this way, and then that other side's gonna have one as well. So hopefully that freed our situation up, so we got second and third, so we can do some racing with our Model A. Believe me, I was prying in the cab on it, but I didn't want to get too wild. Here we go. Throw a little more coil on it. Set her back together. See what happens. So many different leak points. She's still letting off steam over here. Let's take a look at the inner workings of the big old 3-speed on a Model A Ford. So this is a non-synchronized transmission. One of your shift forks goes here and one goes here. Not a lot going on. There's your reverse idler over here. So when that goes back, it engages that. That puts you in reverse. When it goes ahead, it goes first. When this one goes back and forth, it's second and third. Pretty straightforward. Looks like we should dump a little grease in there. There's some down there, but should be up to this plug right here, and it's not. But we knew it was leaking, so we'll dump a little in there and throw it all back together. Again, don't touch these and move them around, because it was in neutral when we started. It should still be in neutral. Make sure your shift levers are setting in the neutral detents, and you'll be golden. don't mess around shifting it out of gear unless you know what you're doing. And I don't. Maybe you do. You're probably supposed to put some 1,000 weight oil in there, but we got 80/90, so that's what we're using. 80/90 is better than nothing. Gonna lubricate better than dust and rust. Okay, that's way too much, so perfect. Let's drop our top cover back in place, put all the right bolts where they need to be. A couple long ones up front and the other 4 all the same length. Scrape some gravel out of the way. We didn't mess with the gaskets, so we're not gonna clean any of that up. If this fight's going on, then you got something wrong. Don't fight it. Check your operator's manual for torque specs. Let's see if she shifts. First second. Still no second there. For cheese and rice. Alright, now we're gonna get angry. And you don't want to see me angry.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Alright, clutch in. There. Boy, it's really stiff. First, second. Oh. Reverse first, second, third. Wonder if it's just because it's sticky from sitting for so long. That could be. Alright, let's put the floorboards back in and test her out. Probably should have put the toe board in first. Route our speedometer cable up to the speedometer. Oh, I bet we could even have a speedometer if we really got crazy. I feel like that's not going to stay there very long, but we'll give it a whirl. Classic simplicity of Ford. These things all got like metal tabs, they just drop into place, and then you got these little tangers you bend over, holds that floor pan in place. Pretty simple, and then one little access cover for the battery over there. Of course, this would all be covered up with a rubber floor mat on a finished vehicle. She's still a little steamy, so she must be ready to go. Apparently it's not as good on gas as I thought. Then again, that thing's 2 liters, so whatever that is. Gallon. Let's put some more in there. Look at this genius gas tank filling method. Just stand inside of your car, dump it in. Don't try this on your late model Lexus. I'll still spill, guaranteed. Yep. All right, try number 2. So we got second and third. Oh, she's so crunchy. Better see if it starts. Clutch is a little grabby. I can't believe how sweet this thing runs. Second gear. Got it. A lot of rattles, which Which is weird because there ain't much here to rattle. All right, let's see if we'll make her for a putter on the block. This thing runs way too good. Way too good. Doesn't need an exhaust clamp. Could probably use some tires. Little TLC on the brakes. Fuel tank, obviously. Didn't even grind it going in a second. Let's go for a third. Oh yeah. The front end's already doing one of these in second because how sloppy it is. That's what the wire's for. It's coming to me now. Yeah, she's gonna be a pretty slow ride. That front end is wallered out. Needs a rear view mirror. See how she likes the gravel. I think it likes the gravel better than the pavement. Third gear. Just coasting along. Herding it down the road like cattle. Oh yeah, it needs a seat. It should probably put some hardware to hold the windshield in. And a top. You don't need no top. It's almost like having a roadster. Speaking of roadsters, I've been driving the ever-living crap out of that thing. And it is top-notch. Everybody should have a roadster. Just floats over the railroad tracks. I can just watch the fuel go down in the colostomy can up there. It's not that good on fuel. A little disappointing. Must be all the raw horsepower. I think these things are like 35 horsepower, maybe 40. Crazy. Which was like double what the Model T had. I don't get what's rattling. My other car doesn't rattle like this. Fan's still turning. Well, it's got to be running cool, right? All right. Let's see how fast we can go before it shakes apart. We're just gonna have to guess because we don't have a speedo. Easing into her in third. Just about to put the hammer down. Glittery. The camera's just dancing as if you couldn't tell. Yeah. About 25, 30, and she just, like the front fenders and the headlights want to come right off the car. Definitely needs some bushings in the front end. I can see it, the road draft flexi tube hanging through the battery hole. And she's got a little blow by, but it ain't bad. Not bad at all for what it is, and it'll probably get better. It's not gonna get worse, guaranteed. Or your money back. Gotta love a revival where you don't have to do brake work. Whoa! First gear. Hammer down. Pull the front wheels. You can hop a Coupe can. Isn't that what the old timers say? You grab second, you jump a Coupe can. Go over a pack of cigarettes from a dead launch. Oh yeah, it is. It's way worse on asphalt. The front end just dances all over. Cooped up. That had to have been why they parked it. Let her idle back. just purring away. Oh, these things are so cool. She's too windy out here. We're gonna have to wrap her in the shop. I'm gonna go open the door, since Duff won't do that for me. Just fires right up. Said it before, say it again. I can't believe how good this thing runs. I'm starting to sound like a salesman. You ain't gonna find a better one. Best deal in town. You're gonna regret it. Did you just listen to that thing purr, Duff? You missed out. You missed out. I know we could make floorboards and a better seat. Maybe we will, if somebody don't buy it. Chop the top, lower it down. Just a champ. I bet it'll run for like 5 minutes just on the fuel that's in the bowl. Didn't even change the oil. Got that good 1964 stuff in there. Look at all the end play in that water pump shaft. Woo! She's good though. Look at that fuel economy. Didn't we have that thing like all the way up to there? Anyway, we burnt just about a liter of gas going 3-4 miles. Oh, unhook our coil. Heck, let's unhook the whole battery. Shout out to I Am Groot, our battery sponsor this week. So there you have it, folks. The Duff Dog and I, with a little help from the rest of the crew around here, got a 1930 Model A Coupe running for the first time in 60 years. 1964 this thing was last tagged, so appeared like somebody was messing with it in the 90s. That's probably when they took the fuel tank out, judging by the planter's peanut can cashews that the hardware was in. A couple of sticky valves. I think it would have ran with a lot of the stuff we had. The points were pretty iffy. It could have used a set, and the carburetor was going to need a kit, but basically threw a distributor in it, spark plugs, carburetor, threw a belt on it, some coolant in it, tires that held air, seat, battery, nurse fuel tank. This thing is going. What would I do with this thing if I were to keep it? I would chop it. I think it needs the roof lowered. I'd convert it to hydraulic brakes and lower it. And these flatheads 4-cylinders are just so slow. Maybe do a V8 swap. I got a couple flatheads in the yard. They're good, but they're not an overhead valve. So I think what I would do with this thing, if I were to keep it, was keep it simple. Put a newer overhead valve V8 in it, and automatic probably, just because of ease. There's not a lot of room for pedals in there, but maybe throw a 4-speed, maybe a 3-speed. Y-block, 292 Y-block with a 3-speed overdrive, 4 to 8-inch rear end, drop axle, like some 46, 48 Ford juice brakes all the way around. Get her good and low. Maybe some 750 16s on the back and some 550 or 600 16s on the front. Keep the old 35 Ford wire wheels. Get rid of these fender brackets up front. See if you can run a full hood. Obviously convert everything to 12 volts. Maybe fill in the top, get ourselves a nice seat, take out that package tray, get her slid back. Probably put a fuel tank in the back and then just cut this out, and so you had room for gauges and electrical and all that good stuff. That's what I would do, and then I would just leave the body as is. Maybe fix that rust right there, but probably not. Just run it. This thing is good. I did notice that this looks like a pretty fresh dent right here, so I would imagine as part of the auction when they were dragging stuff out or moving stuff around, they creased it. But other than that, this thing it's good. They all got dings in the fenders. I notice it's a little Swiss cheesy down here, but it ain't bad. Like I said, that rust there and over there are really the only spots on the body that are visible. There's a little bit in the wheel wells and the sub rails. What's pretty common with these. Notice that drip rail on the other side is kind of dinged up. I don't know if we talked about that earlier. It's just kind of bent down a little bit. But that could be straightened out easily enough. And all the glass is freaking presentable. I didn't even wipe that off. Somebody did at some point. Doors latch way too good. Clean up the regulators, lube them up. Needs a radiator, but again, I'd probably put a V8 in it, so that radiator's gotta go anyway. But I am not gonna fix this up. I hope not. I hope somebody buys it because we got way too much stuff and it'll never happen. It'll just sit out back and rot away like all the other ones. So price and availability in the video description. I think my prices are more than fair. But there's always somebody like Jeff out there who's like, "Ah, you're crazy. That car's only worth 500 bucks. Okay, send everyone you got over here for 500 bucks because I'll take them. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Duff, Mojo, Chin, our families, we all appreciate it. It's people like you that are watching, comment, sharing, subscribing, buying merch. Go to mortske.com, caps, shirts, banners, screwdrivers, you name it, we got it. If we don't got it, you don't need it. Supporting us, you people that keeps us making this content. This was a really great find. One of my buddies who's a farmer, like I said, was looking at a farm auction and he's like, "Hey, check this thing out." Threw in a bid. Here we are, making content. Model A is Duff. Oh, he's so mad he hasn't got to go for a ride. All right, on to the next one. Remember, it doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you were having fun. And this has been one of the most fun revivals I've done in a long time. This was a lot of fun. I like Model A's. I like early Fords. Coupes are freaking awesome. And we got to use some of the parts we had laying around and a bunch of this know-how that we had laying around. We rounded up some 35 Ford wires, or one, and some tires, and some Model A ignition and carb parts. Model A exhaust I had laying around. Belt I had just laying around. Got to use the nurse tank. All right, on to the next one. Oh! You're gonna take the camera?
Yeah.
All right. You don't have to squint behind it.
Oh.
And I can't wait to add this to the extras.
You want me to show you how to do that?
Yeah.
See, that's what you're looking at.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Getting all the shots.
Up here.
Okay.
We'll put it back.
No, I want to do it. Let me see.
You hold it. You see it?
Hey.
Did that scare you?